Two German warships have set sail towards the Indo-Pacific region in an effort to increase Germany's military presence in that area. The Frankfurt am Main ship set off on Tuesday from the northern German port of Wilhelmshaven. German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius said rising tensions between China and Taiwan and over the South China Sea were putting pressure on freedom of navigation and trade routes. Well, for more on this, let's go now to DW's chief political correspondent, Nina Haase. Nina, why is Germany sending two warships to the Indo-Pacific now?
Well, basically to demonstrate on the ground that Germany is a reliable partner for all those countries in that region that, like Germany, believe in international cooperation and the rule-based international order, and believe in that principle that Chancellor Olaf Scholz keeps talking about. What must count is the strength of the law and not the right of the strong one. So, to be honest, Germany neglected the Indo-Pacific for decades, and over the last few years the recognition has grown here in Berlin that the area is becoming hugely important. With all those rising powers like India and China, they're playing a more significant political role in the international institutions, and the area is also hugely significant because Germany is an export-focused country. So it does need stability for its trade routes in that region, and it needs its partners there. And Russia's illegal war against Ukraine is threatening that principle of respecting territorial integrity worldwide. And here there's a growing recognition in Berlin that politics cannot just be done via the telephone or a Zoom call. You need to show yourself. You need your people to get to know your partners' people. They need to do military exercises together and practice that regularly. That's what's in their Indo-Pacific guidelines that Berlin gave itself in 2020, and that's why they're sending those ships and also some planes from the Bundeswehr to the region.
Nina, stay with us because this Indo-Pacific mission is part of a much bigger shift in Germany's approach to security and defense, and we want to take a look at that because the war in Ukraine has prompted a so-called Zeitenwende, as you know, or turning point in how Germany is dealing with security matters and what it's doing with its armed forces.
For the pilots of the Bundeswehr's air transport group, this is a big deal. Finally getting a shot of the Chinook heavy-lift helicopter. This, though, just a training exercise on Dutch machines. The aim is for the Germans to be ready to fly in 2027, when their new Chinooks arrive to replace the decades-old Sikorskis.
The new helicopter flies much faster than the old one. It can transport about twice as much as our old helicopters and is equipped with the latest technology. So, of course, it's a big step for us into the future.
The price tag for the 60-odd Chinooks is €7 billion. New hangars will be built here to house them. And not only that, the state-of-the-art Israeli-built Arrow air defence system will also be located here at a cost of €4 billion. And the runway is being widened to allow NATO aircraft to land here. All of that means that this airbase south of Berlin is being turned into one of the most important in Europe.
You can really see that we're making history here. You can say that we will be the future home of the Air Force's heavy transport helicopters, making us one of NATO's largest helicopter bases outside the US.
It's being paid for out of a one-off $100 billion military modernisation fund set up after Russia invaded Ukraine. For decades, Germany has missed NATO's 2% target on defence spending. In 2024, it hit that target. Now the question is what happens once the special fund runs out. To keep hitting the 2% target, the government will have to spend an extra €30 billion every year on defence. That's ignited a debate about how to pay for it all.
I think the topic of security and defence is being discussed much more seriously among the population than it was a few years ago. I notice this myself regularly at different events, that people have a much greater understanding of the Bundeswehr's needs.
Such sentiments may reflect a growing shift in attitudes towards the Bundeswehr. Whether it will translate into a long-term funding boost is very much up in the air.
Nina, tell us more about this transformation taking place in German defence thinking. How significant is this shift?
Well, I would say that the process is underway, as we heard in the report, that people are beginning to realise that the topic of defence is something that needs to be taken seriously again. But of course, it does require a mindset change of the population. The world is not going to become a safer place anytime soon. That is the principle that is guiding politicians here in Berlin. We hear that all the time. But of course, Germany did live off the peace dividend after the collapse of communism for decades. So they got complacent. They were under the belief that defence can be neglected. They reduced their military significantly. They're only now beginning to ramp up the infrastructure again, as we saw, and civil protection measures. So there are lots of very concrete issues that the Bundeswehr has to deal with. Recruitment is one of them. They don't have enough soldiers. Infrastructure, all of these things take a lot of time and lots of money. So Olaf Scholz is speaking of the Zeitenwende that happened when Russia launched its invasion against Ukraine. But Germany would have to set very clear priorities here, also in terms of where the money is spent. And that is not happening enough and not happening fast enough, according to many experts that we talk to on a regular basis.
Nina, thank you very much. That was our chief political correspondent, Nina Haase.